Hey everyone, welcome back. BetSports Golf, Sanderson Farms Championship preview and unpacking the Ryder Cup with my friend Andy Molitor. Andy, did you make up for a little bit of sleep yesterday? I don't know how what your schedule was. Did you get up really early? I mean, we were messaging pretty early on the weekends. I know you were up at least
Yeah,
watching it a little bit.
I did get up in time to take a look at lines for both of the afternoon sessions. I didn't
Okay.
wake up for either of the early sessions. I'm just too washed for that. I'm already up late. I'm up late on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night for those games and doing any late night writing or analysis or taking notes, catching up on injuries. It's already 11, 12 on all those nights. And then
Yeah.
I'm a guy who's up at 5:30 every day. So I just couldn't do any more extra not getting sleep. I'm the kind of guy who gets sick. If I don't get enough sleep, I'll just wake up with a cold in the middle of summer. It doesn't matter. My body just does not love getting less than 6, 7 a night for most of the week. But I caught a lot. I caught a lot of Sunday. Obviously Sunday's great. It sucked that we had the Toy Story game on top of it, but it was there, and there was a little moment there too where the final two matches were only Europe was one up in the final two matches. It's there's enough holes where if they flip those and a couple of these ties hold on, there's an outside shot at something happening. And then, most of it just didn't go right. We ended up with the final score we did. That's kind of what you're going to end up with when you give up such a massive lead right off the bat. You didn't come into play as much as we thought. If it would have been close, oh my God, we would have been talking about the 17th and 18th holes on the day one 4 balls in the afternoon there.
Yeah,
because and a lot of it wasn't just we choked so hard. Those were amazing shots by the Euros on a couple spots. What are you gonna do when Rahm makes that putt? I guess play better the other 17 holes is the answer. But Rahm was nails. Rory was good. I don't want to say he was great. He had good matchups. He won all the matchups he should have won. Which,
Rory was pretty good. Event wide. Strokes gained tee to green, 8.4 strokes gained tee to green. It was the top 3. It was Hovland, Rahm, and Rory in terms of and again, some of it in terms of the putting stuff can be a little bit noisy because there's gimmies and stuff like that. But just that's why I think the tee to green stuff is important. 4-1 for Rory, and third overall in strokes gains is a pretty good week for him, especially considering how things ended in Whistling Straits. Although he played okay and he beat Xander, but I do think that what you're saying there is probably my biggest takeaway. Was a lot of it was I think Europe just won, and I know that there's a lot of unpacking to do on the U.S. side, but I do think that for the most part, Europe won. The problem was, and part of the handicap in backing Europe was you can make a case that Scotty is definitely a top 3 player in the world. He has his issues, but man, their top 3 we couldn't really touch it. We really couldn't figure out what our top 2 was, really what our top 3 was, and their top 3 were all that and more. The Hovland stuff continued to roll over. He was awesome. Tee to green, on the green, around the green suddenly is not just not a weakness, it's a strength. He was awesome scrambling. And, Rahm had some incredible holes, had this, especially early in the week, killer mentality, just seemed like he was out for blood. And those 3 were just awesome. And that was probably the story at the end of the day was Hovland, Rahm, and Rory were all that and more. Tommy had some Magic Bean stuff. Hatton was incredible. I think they got good performances. Rose putted lights out when he needed to. The rest of it wasn't very, very good. But I think the Europe side was just better. They took advantage in the way they flipped scheduling with having, the 4-ball stuff go out early instead, or foursomes go out early instead. I think that was strategically really good because we went 1-7 an alternate shot, which is, not typically our thing. And they were able to leverage that and do things where they couldn't really set up the course in a way that was going to make them have an edge comparatively. Because again, their guys are bombers too, like we talked about last week with Byron, but just the way they were able to kind of lay things out there. U.S. side wasn't good. No one was really good. Cantlay was, had his moments, obviously, and that whole thing was pretty incredible.
I want to give Homa credit.
No, you're right. Homo was
very,
awesome.
very good for, especially, this gets brought up so much. He was a debutant. Like, it was his first time.
Led the entire event in strokes gained approach, which
It's a
was
big
massive.
spot. And yeah, I was going to say too, I was going to shit on your SG's numbers a little because they're so noisy.
For sure.
In matches like in matches like this where you're conceding putts, picking up putts, not finishing holes, taking shots you would never take because you have to.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone who watched can disagree with what you just said about Max Homa. I don't care if the numbers are noisy and messy. Like, he was nails with his second shots. He was great. It was good, and he was very good, very above average overall. He played well. He was my, obviously USA MVP. He had 3.5 points. I did not obviously expect that much out of him.
We didn't think he played 5.
More out of the top.
He's the only U.S. guy that played 5, so that that was part of it too. Yeah, he was awesome.
And for the U.S., not a lot of other positives. Like, Harman got 2 points, but it's not like I was impressed. Cantlay was impressive. Wyndham at times, but at other times he was very much a liability. I thought we'd play other guys a little more. I didn't quite understand what was happening. Ricky turned out to have diarrhea or something. Like, it turned out he was one of the ones that were more sick. Obviously, I thought we'd see him at least twice on the Friday, Saturday. Didn't end up seeing him at all till Sunday. So I had an over 1.5 points on Ricky that was very much, is there a way he could score 2 on Sunday? Not happening, but that one felt bad. And I ended up actually betting against him. Like, once we knew he wasn't feeling well, and
I took Tommy on Sunday.
The no pick, the no draw price was like -175. I'm gonna lay this. Give me something to root for in the later part, because I knew they'd go out later anyway, so I'd have something to cheer for and play, watch if Europe had really taken it. Justin Rose, it's like 45 man. I thought he was going to beat Cantlay on Sunday. Honestly, he took Cantlay down to, he took him to the 17th. That was pretty good. Fitzpatrick was good. I think maybe the narrative was, he's like never won a Ryder Cup match. He's been terrible. It's like, well, put him with a good partner instead of Lee Westwood or whatever he was playing with last time out there, and you're gonna have a lot better result. I thought he was composed, played well. Other than that, not a lot to say outside of the captain stuff, especially with the news coming out and some of the pressers and stuff that Luke probably didn't want to say leading up to the event to give away some of their hand. But I mean, some of the training they did where they put a strong emphasis on getting out to an early lead, getting out and trying to, get out there and take these early leads. So they'd play these 3-hole matches with each other. They'd prep, they played more golf, or, it seemed like the prep was a lot more thought out. The strategy was more thought out. And then you have Zach, asked about analytics, and he's like, yeah, averages and means and whatever. It's like, I think you straight up went team vibe, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of why we liked Europe. Just the numbers shouldn't have been out to 2-1 at some point. Should have been closer to a coin flip. We eventually got there, in feeling like we do have a different vibe team comparatively than maybe the Tiger and Phil teams of yesteryear. But just winning on Europe, it's just going to be a very, very difficult conversation every time we're there. They seem to have the U.S. number, even though we're going to talk about, hey, the weakness of the back end of the Euro team is what it is. I feel like we all thought it was a little bit better this year. Maybe even the middle section. So I think the back end was still maybe a little bit weaker than what ours was, but their middle was a little bit better. What do we make of the Cantlay? We're getting a little bit more, and not surprisingly because we know they're buddies. So, and maybe that's not fair, but if I feel like there's a strong Cantlay take, I feel like it's probably a strong Xander take as well, right? He's going to run that up against his guy. The picture of I think it was Chris Powers from Golf Digest had married for 10 years, dating for 2 weeks picture, or it was Hatton and Rahm were hugging each other. and it's the camera at the wrong time, happened to catch Cantlay and Xander like just kind of moping, looking down, and it was just kind of a bad vibes picture. Again, it's literally a snippet of time.
It didn't feel as much of as a team as Europe. Like they seemed like they were on a business trip.
But US wanted to bang that home. This is the closest team I've ever been a part of. I have never been part of a team, and it was like it was almost like a talking point. It was almost like
doth protest too much kind of thing. Like you keep saying it doesn't make it true. Like whereas it felt very the team vibes coming from Europe felt very organic. Hovland holding hands was something. And yeah, it's crazy how many go back and look at like every Ryder Cup from here through like the early 90s, man. There's always a Spanish assassin. And it's crazy too. You brought up Tiger. Tiger wasn't good at the Ryder Cup.
No.
Like it just, and some of it again is matchups. This is the toughest thing I deal with people every time we have one of these is when they bring up their records. So this guy has this record. Go look at who he played with and who he played against and the situations. Like it's not something we should be using super strongly all the time because you do have this where it's like, wow, he played with a horseshit partner and he got drawn against way better golfers and he was younger. Like it is hard to use some of that stuff because it's match play, it's teams, not all of that's individual stuff, and the individual being the blind draw. Sometimes you end up with a tough opponent. Like Sam Burns played his ass off Sunday.
He did.
He was probably he was above average out of the 24 golfers. He was top 10 on how well he played, but he played the wrong golfer. Like, he played really good golf, but that's an 0-1. That's the same as losing 9-8. It doesn't matter. That's an 0-1 on the record. So kind of take a grain of salt on some of that stuff. And then, I do wonder if Zach is captain in 2 years. I don't know who decides that sort of stuff. Kind of feels like a hard no. I'm not sure who steps in. Like, we all love Tiger Woods, but he's not a leader of men. Like he's an individualist. I want to go out there and kill every other golfer. Where's the first tee? What's the course record? Like he's not it's weird to say, but it's not a team sport. Maybe this would be different if Tiger Woods grew up playing basketball or he was a team sport, but when he grew up playing to win events at golf, and I'm not so sure he's like a super good captain. I'm not sure he cares enough about, captaining a team at this time. He's got other stuff going on. He's got Pop Golf, baby. So I'm not sure do you have before we get to Sanderson, I guess, do you have any takes on where you'd head with the captaincy? I think Luke Donald's earned another swing for fucking sure. He's captain at Bethpage.
Yeah. And then, so I think that's part of it I think, and it's not necessarily fair to say because obviously the European team has currently constructed and knowing that like the core still going to be very much intact. I don't know that it matters so much for Bethpage, who the American captain is. That crowd is going to be wild and insane. And, again, like it should be a coin toss and that'll be interesting. It's really, what do we do next time we have to go to Europe? That's it. So I agree with your Tiger take from like a big picture standpoint. We have this historically where great players don't always make great managers. It's very, very rare. It's typically when you see a coach in any sport that has success that was a previous player, it's someone that was maybe a bottom end of the guy, grinder or a middle of the roster guy. It's very rare. Like, Larry Bird was a fantastic, one in Indiana, and kind of an outlier. Not a lot of like historical great players make great coaches. You think of football, you get a lot of guys that played that are middle of the pack kind of guys. We have the Dan Campbells of the world right now that are, look, he's a journeyman, a grinder, maybe an interesting, use case there, but, not always the elites of the elites. So, those guys don't always translate, but that team, the American core, loves Tiger Woods, and Tiger has done a good job in the last handful of years, kind of turning a page, coming back and being more open. Getting close.
He's taking a hand in some of that stuff.
I think throwing Tiger out there as the captain next time we go to Europe is a very interesting approach. I would not use him I don't think we would need him. Not that I mean need him like that we were going to win in Bethpage. I don't mean it that way. I just mean like what you're going to need from a captain. I would want to have that in Europe. So if we have like a, something we have in pocket, let's save it and let's break it on Europe because we need to kind of break that streak of that 4 years since we last won in Europe.
My pick is? And I'd like to see it at Bethpage and as like a trial and then send them out versus Europe. Or when they go back to Europe, fucking Lefty. I know
we are so far away from that right now.
I know we're so far away
from that. We are so far away from that.
But he, out of anybody in golf, he would give a shit more about putting together the perfect team, spending time on the strategy, figuring it out, and actually like managing the team than anybody on the planet right now for the US. Like obviously there's a little bit of an issue because he plays on live and some of the things he said, and he might, have had a crippling gambling issue. And there's a lot pushing that away. But if you put all that aside and just said, let's not worry about that and pick the best captain, it's probably fucking Lefty. And I'll stump for that for 2 years and people will yell at me.
No, I think your premise is correct. I think he would give a shit. I think he would, he cares. He cared when he played. That was definitely a thing, right? We had that, him and Tom Watson, where he kind of called him out in the press. We know that he cares about it. He cares about the strategy of it. We know he wants to win. He can get a little bit of, shekels on it for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We'll have could have a Stu Sinker, like they'll rotate some sort of old guy that's, been a vice captain that could just come off that, still kind of like, just like Zach, still kind of playing on tour, kicking around, knows these guys. But I don't think we do anything crazy for Bethpage. I think I'm really interested to see how they approach, next trip to Europe. And I think that's when I would want to use Tiger because I do think that there is something there, especially now at that point. We're 4 years beyond where we are now. So where is Tiger at that point in his career? Where is he mentally, knowing that like, hey, for Tiger, he wants to win. We haven't won in Europe in 34 years by the time we go there. That's for Tiger is like a big thing now. All of a sudden, I could be that guy.
That's a good point. He might be past the spot where he can win as an individual golfer with his injuries and his age. But that's a huge like feather in your cap as maybe he has to change his mindset a little. People get older and wiser. I get it. I think it's probably going to be Tiger, but I'm still going to stump for I'm going to still stump for Phil. And honestly, I still would take Tiger over any of the vice captains. I'm not interested in Love, Furyk, Stricker, certainly not Fred Couples. Stuart Sink would be the most palatable out of those, but I don't know. He's a little young. Just said Stuart Sink is a little young. I don't know.
I mean, Zach still plays on tour.
It feels like he still has some juice in him.
Stu Sink's
intimidating. That guy's
huge.
Huge.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I'm surprised kind of that Tiger wasn't involved. I thought Tiger was going to be involved, maybe go or I don't know. I thought maybe he would, but I mean, I think there's no chance that Lefty goes before Tiger if Tiger has any interest in doing it. They just, so
I believe Tiger's probably the next captain unless he just says, I don't want to be the next captain. Like if they offer it, they're going to offer it to him.
I'm sure they do.
Zach's probably done.
Yeah. Zach could be another great vice captain and whatever. Continue to create the vibes that were the best he's ever been a part of. I'm sure they'd love to have him back to do that, but to actually pull the strings.
Press conferences, man.
He was not.
We can't have him in front of a mic anymore.
No, it wasn't great. So yeah, overall, congrats to Europe.
US should be a -125, -130 favorite at that
That's totally agreed.
You put these same two teams out there at home, we're probably slight favorites. Obviously, it's bad for us that these young Europeans got experience. The fact that some of them played a bunch. I mean, Hovland has a bunch of experience now. Oberg. I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe Bobby Mack is just a fucking mainstay now. I guess he played really well. Maybe he's a captain's pick if he does not. Maybe he just plays well enough over Europe the next couple of years where he is another automatic qualifier. But Hoiberg, you got to, or Hoiberg. It's Fred Hoiberg is
Fred Hoiberg, the mayor.
Fred Hoiberg, he's going to be a mainstay. Probably, I don't know. It's always one of those things.
Where they had both. They had Rasmus there hanging around all week too. So like,
we get there in 2 years. You get there in 2 years, and there's always some surprises. We'd have never said Max Homa is like an automatic qualifier for a Ryder Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, he turned it on for sure. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Europe is going to reload the bottom half, and that's what they've done successfully here. And not just that. I mean, yeah, Victor was part of Whistling Straits, but he struggled, and now he's. I mean, I don't want to say he's the best player in the world, but he's definitely the hottest player in the world, and he's a top 5 player in the world. And he put his foot on the back of the neck on Morikawa right away. Morikawa was never in that match, and Morikawa was a 2-time major champion, but they're in totally different classes right now. And like the U.S. kind of needs Morikawa to be one of those guys moving forward if they're going to continue to be in the mix, whereas Hovland is that dude now. Solidified it over the course of the last couple months, and was very much that guy here. And what Hovland needed to solve, that short game stuff, is what we need to get out of Morikawa. He won't have the distance that Hovland does, but we need Morikawa to kind of figure that out and kind of be that guy here moving forward, because the Hovland, Rahm, Rory train is going to be an absolute beast. I'm excited to see what we've seen with Bryson over the last couple months. Maybe he's a bigger part of, the Europe or the American team moving forward. He probably had a case to be on the back end where the way he's been playing good golf. We need really good Bryson DeChambeau to be a part of it moving forward. If we can kind of bridge the PGA live divide here, we need some of those guys that, to come back and be impactful players, because who knows where, Ludwig is going to be in 2 years. Could be pretty scary. That could be a 4-horse race on the Europe side.
They have some good young players. Like you said, both Højgaards.
They're 21 years old.
Yeah, they're very young.
Rasmus is good.
Hovland's not very old.
No.
And it's, again, there's a lot of good players on the U.S. team. Like Morikawa is not a bad player.
Of course not.
We have some very good players. So I'm excited for Bethpage. That'll be a fun one for sure. I like the U.S. ones better because they're on, at times I can watch all of it.
Yeah.
I will get nothing done. I struggled to get anything done. I just kept looking at the stuff I needed to write. I'm like, on Friday, I'm like, boy, this just might not happen. Maybe I just don't send a newsletter today. I almost just said punt it. I'm giving up. So I'm sitting here dying on every shot, even with the shitty coverage. So
yeah.
Last golf happens, coverage sucks. Those two go hand in hand. But yeah, suck it, Peacock. That was horrible.
Yeah.
There's like 8 guys on the course. Show me some more shots.
I know. Yeah, playing.
This is not difficult. Like you don't even need that many cameras. Like you don't need guys running from hole to hole like you have on normal events. Like there's 8 people. You have 8 groups. 16, I guess, whatever. But like there's 8 groups going. It's 4 groups. Why can't I do numbers today? We're on to the Sanderson Farms Open Championship, whatever.
Oh, real quick, on Saturday afternoon when like there's basically no one left in the course, Cantlay, that thing is kind of closing itself out. And like Cantlay's teeing off on 17. They go to like playing through. We're literally on 17 and we're getting playing through on a crucial tee shot on a par 3. It was, and again, at least we got playing through. Yeah. Like you said, there's golf on TV. Golf coverage is going to be bad. It's pretty much, they go hand in hand. But it was especially rough. Especially once you get all 4 groups, you get all the singles out there, like show me some golf, guys. Like, yeah, it's rough. So
it would be nice to watch golf when I tune in for golf.
Yeah. Sanderson Farms, Andy.
Sanderson Farms.
Tough one to handicap, man. Tough one to handicap. Last year, when you look at who came here, we are, in the southeast here. We are in Country Club of Jackson. We are in Jackson, Mississippi. Last year, we had, in the back of the President's Cup, we had like some players still. We had Sam Burns. We had Seamus Power, Harris English, Keegs, C. Heath, Poston, Henley. This year is not that. And I think part of it is the nature of this like weird swing season that we're in, because this was actually part of the start of the season last year, but now it's not. Century January is the start. So no one's really incentivized to come here and get points per se. Like, so it's a very weird.
It's the, you have the group of people who are locked in to play the elevated events. And then there's going to be a secondary group that works in based on points. So those like 51 through 150 are very incentivized to play all these fall events. That said, those aren't big names. There's not a lot of big names in there. So it's going to be that whole middle of the pack. That there's not going to be a bad field, though. It is going to be the entire middle of the pack all fall long. Because if you can automatically qualify for some of those events next year, it's just so much money.
Yeah.
So like these are like investment tournaments. You're not going to get rich by top 20ing here, but if you do it a bunch, you're going to end up in fields, no cut fields next year with $20 million purses. Like, these are super important for these middle of the pack guys. So a lot of motivation, obviously, to win, to do well here. And you're going to see these high end middle, it's like upper middle class fields for the most part. And yeah, we're no difference here in Jackson, where I'm checking. I remember last year, it's like they're having this, there's this golf tournament as the whole city has like undrinkable water. I just checked. Not that much better this year. PGA, take some money, give it to Jackson, fix their pipes, guys. They're still boiling water and stuff, but it's
give the money we're going to give to Cantlay and Xander and company. The PGA Tour.
We opened the books, didn't we? Yeah. We looked at the books, but and we talked about this little yesterday. Noonan and I. It's a very hard tournament to find anything predictive from previous events. It's not a course where it's like, this is the archetype that works. This is the type of golfer that's going to play the best here. These are the kind of guys who traditionally won. It's kind of all over the board. So then you go to your when you have that, you go to your secondary kind of weapon. Who's in really good form right now? Who's just playing well? I mean, you had Ryder Cup, but essentially, and I guess there's Fortinet, but essentially there's a bunch of guys who you haven't got to see play all that much lately. We're sitting here in October. We haven't played that much since September. So that creates another problem. And at the end, you're probably just looking for good numbers here. Just shop around. If you can find some rogue numbers on some guys who you think can play good golf, have played good golf, have won tournaments, have win equity, are better players, like that's the kind of guys. Like, I didn't look at all at your bets yet, but do you have a Tom Hoagie bet?
Two guys didn't make the cut. Tom Hoagie is one of the two that I wanted to bet. There's one other guy I'd be interested to see. But yeah, Hoagie, I mean, easy scoring conditions, wedge play, because you do have when you look at kind of the distribution of approach shots here, wedges are pretty crucial. You don't the range that we typically spend a lot of time in, and say like 150, 175 to 2.25. We don't have almost any of that here. It's all 150 and shorter. And then you got a bunch of like long stuff, 225 plus, 250 plus. So it is an interesting kind of dynamic in terms of handicapping the event. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it too. Like, you look at previous winners, we have Ryan Armour and we have Cam Champ.
Yeah.
I mean, Cam Champ is, now not just like the king anymore. There's a lot of guys that absolutely bomb it 330 consistently. But Armour is off the tee. Like, I think his average off the tee that week was like 267. So like,
basically me.
So finding a guy, like, just narrowing into, like you said, like, here is what the prototype is, the archetype for winning here. It just isn't. It's just not something that we have. So it's pick your guys. We can't rely on form, because the most part, to your point, the guys that have been playing most recent aren't here. The guys that were competing at the BMW, at the Tour Championship, they're not here. They don't need to be here. So we're talking about guys that really haven't played since early August, late July for the most part. So like, form is really very difficult as well. So it is very much a back your guys at bad numbers kind of an event. Again, I don't want to like say there's no way to handicap it. Distance isn't like mattered increasingly over time. Distance is always going to matter. You want guys that are good from those approach buckets that we talked about. I want really good wedge players. I want you to be really good from 125 in because you get a lot of that here. Hitting fairways doesn't seem to matter because fairway rate is pretty low, but greens and regulation is high. These are pretty fast Bermuda greens. So if you played well in the Southeast before, that helps. If you like Bermuda grass, that helps. The rough is really small, but it's also got like this zoysia mix. So some of that sits up a little bit. So you don't have like some of those unpredictable, Bermuda lies as well. So like there's some stuff to dig into, but man, for me, I want to back some guys that I like to back that I think do have win equity, to your point, that I'm going to be able to catch you bad numbers. So I did not go on Tom Hoagie, but I understand why Hoagie would be a popular selection this week.
Yeah, he's 70 at BetOnline.
Oh, that's a really good number.
I saw struggle not to bet that. In fact, my fingers are moving and I'm clicking and I bet him. Like that's a big number. I'm just kind of, I'm just looking at, give me some guys who've played well enough over I'm actually doing like long-term form here with, little ear to this guy hasn't tailed off hard, but like long-term form, ball striking, just somebody who's not crazy short off the tee because I don't know how repeatable that really is.
Yeah.
Going 265 on average, but Luke List, maybe not a guy I want to bet just because I hate doing that. Smalley, I've never had success betting, on Alex Smalley for the most part. Killa Keith, I'm not sure how you feel about him. I'm kind of going all over the board here, but obviously, you look at the top. Jaeger's going to pop for everybody. He's class right now. Ober, I don't know how he feels about playing in Mississippi after Rome. Not really the same place. We'll see how engaged he is. He's young. He can bounce back from a hangover pretty quick, though. But and then basically I have Jaeger is a guy I wish the price was longer on. I might still bet anyway. Hoagie because the number's too big. And then an Argentine that I think deserves to be in this upper class. And I wish that one was a little bigger, but 25 on Grillo? Is that a thing? Are we doing it?
I bet him here last year, and I was looking back at my card for last year. So, I wish the number was longer. Part of it is that, still trying to stay with the way that I approach outrights. That's still a little expensive for me. I'd rather take a couple of shots. So I get it. Like, Eric Cole, same. We love to bet Eric Cole. You'd have one round during the week that'll pop and you'd be like, oh, look at Eric Cole. He's in the mix again. And then we'll kind of fade. So, Cole at 20 is a little tough. I prefer Grillo at 25 in that top tier. Same thing. I'm with you on Jaeger. Jaeger is south of 20. It's just really tough for me to get when I feel like he's been better than a lot of these guys, but I feel like there's a lot of Steven Jaegers in this field. And I don't want to pay for the most expensive.
Yeah, basically the best number I can find in Jaeger right now is 20, which not going to happen. Yeah. Davis Riley
home game, right?
Davis Riley home game, but also just good enough form, really good enough ball striker to kind of put him in this conversation with me. And I'm looking at a third spot right now to see what his price is. I can get a 50. That's definitely that's in the mix. It's not a bet yet, but nothing but the big Hoagie number. But yeah, Davis Riley, we're gonna write that down. D Riley, Fitty, and Bodog. Bodog is for Canadians.
Yeah, 45 is the best. 45 is the best Riley number in domestics right now. So yeah, I can get that. I went with some numbers that moved. I did take a shot on Smalley, our guy Smalley. I got it 45.
That's a good number, though.
Yep, got that early on Monday, and he actually with some of the stuff that I ran, using our stats database tool, really like Smalley just in terms of like just overall approach. Putting himself to get birdie opportunities. Been really good in some of the proximity buckets that I think are crucial. Long irons too are pretty good. Just overall ball striking has been pretty excellent over the last 36 rounds, which, probably goes back to early June. So that's what makes this kind of tricky. So yeah, Smalley at 45 was a play for me. I had to go with our guy, Akshay. I just don't want, Akshay FOMO. Like Akshay feels like I bet I'm going to make a ton here in the next couple of months. We're just an ascending talent, really good with his, the approach buckets again. The wedge play has been.
Did we see a different putting grip from him recently?
He tried it in the first round, went back,
and then he just said, "Fuck with this. I'm not sweeping anymore."
Correct.
That's what it was. I was trying to. It reminded me he did this. He did the claw sweep, and then he's like, no mas.
Yeah, went back to it. Not great, but yeah, he's just going to give himself a ton of birdie looks, and that helps if we can get some to go down. We'll be okay. He's plus on distance. Again, really good wedge player, one of the best in the field from 125 to 150, which matters a ton this week. Pretty good long iron player as well. So yeah, it's the bogeys. We got to avoid the bogeys. We got to make some of those close putts here. Sometimes there's some tough par fives. So that's why the distance does, I think, matter, because that's why you get the forced layups and why you have a lot of shots coming in from the 75 to 150 range, because a lot of guys can't make the par fives in two. So Akshay can, but when he can't, I think he's going to handle it pretty well. So Akshay, I think it was 60, and that's moved out. Actually, there's some better numbers even on Akshay than the 60. I think FanDuel's out to like 70, where some places moved down. The one number that I did definitely beat market on was I went back to Garrick Higo, who I bet a decent amount down the stretch this season. I got Higo at 70. He is 40 across the board at domestics now. His lone win, like his good golf stateside, and he's been very streaky, has come in the Southeast. He actually played really well. I didn't realize that he played really well here last year. Was in the mix because I didn't use course history at all, but did find that out after the fact. So feel pretty good about his top three finish here last year. So Higo can bomb it out there. Again, just his entire game, young kid, streaky. So give me the guy that has massive upside if things click. Higo's the guy you're going to know by Thursday afternoon if it's happening or not. But I thought 70 was a bad number, and the market seemed to agree because it's moved to 40.
Yeah, the rest of my golfers have near the top. This is how long it's been since I've watched bad golf. I can't even remember the nickname for you. Not you.
Kevin
Yu. His number sucks. I wish that were a little longer. I
bet Kevin Yu here last year as well. He was on the
He's another one that it's long-term Ford's good enough. Let's see what we have at Bookmaker on him. Chun An Yu. Yeah, 55 in the market. I'd like a bigger one. Turtle Saver. Homeless Hubs. 80 at BetOnline. That's a wager.
Number. Yeah.
That's a wager. You're going to find way worse numbers in the market on that. So at 80, I'm in on Mark Hubbard. And
he's 40 at MGM.
Yeah. Like there's places they're going to be. This is a really good week to price shop and maybe take a lot of small chances from like 50 on up, because you're going to find probably 20 names that you can find at 60, 70, 80 or better that are like 40 or 50 at a different book. You can definitely put together a nice portfolio this week. Like Hoagie's 40 and 50 at some places. You're going to find 70s or better around. There's so many guys that are down in that range. Ben Griffin, where are you at on him? I'm not sure he made my list, but he's someone I bet. Now I'm just looking at names of people I've bet in the past.
Yeah, Ben Griffin's a guy that we bet for a while there. Looking at like last 36, it hasn't been very good. So he did not really pop for me much based off of what I was looking for. But yeah, I mean, that's what this week is to me. Like you're not going to be able to say a name and be like, oh, I don't know. He just hasn't been good lately. We just haven't seen these guys. And this is a place where like anything can happen. So yeah, I have no problem with it. The other guy that's really interesting to me, she came out top on my stuff and I ran numbers. Doug Gim. I just have a hard time paying the price. It's got really short in some spots on Doug Gim. Just ball striking approach. The putter can be really good. Doesn't make a lot of bogeys because the putting is so damn good. Really good short iron player. So Doug Gim is kind of Doug Gim and Hoagie's, because I like, Hoagie's a guy that we've had some success with in the past. Those are the ones that I didn't play that I probably would have wanted to, but I'm just trying to like keep the unit size to a certain point, and Doug Gim was the last man off. But I'll be watching, and if Doug Gim gets in the mix, maybe there'll be a live ad. But yeah,
he was one that I had listed too, but it was 35. I didn't care for that number. Let me look.
A couple 50s out there in domestics.
If I find a 50, I'll bet him. He's always high on my list. 35, 55. Look at that, a third bet. Doug Gim, 55 to 1. He's another one. Yeah, he's top 10-ish in the field, ball striking tee to green, and like the putting's not that bad at times. He can certainly fucking win this tournament. Like, off the tee numbers are great. Approach numbers are very good.
Yeah, the putting's streaky for sure. Putting super streaky.
It's streaky, but it's not like consistently shit.
Yeah,
there are some guys like, hey, here's Luke List. He's going to grade out super high and tee to green and ball striking off the tee approach, but the short game in general, it's going to be like bottom 5 at every event. Maybe not here. There's some bad golfers here, but like it's just going to be so incredibly low. Whereas the Gim, not a good putter, but it's a streaky thing where he can definitely play well.
There's just a bunch of guys that we like to bet here, so it's it's a tough one to leave some guys off the card, but there's a lot of value in that to me. Like to the Jaeger point at the top, like I like him. Yeah, it makes sense why he's going to be popular, but man, there's just so many of those dudes in like the 40 to 50, 40 to 60 range. Like I just so much would rather bet Lee Hodges at 40, 45 than Jaeger at 16. Davis Riley, Adam
I was
Svensson.
Close on Lee Hodges. I just can't do a Lee Hodges bet.
I know. He played well down the stretch too. I mean, got himself a win. So yeah, I mean, Sam Stevens we liked for a little bit.
I was just gonna say Sam Stevens. Yeah. I'm just sitting here looking for a 60. If I had a 60, it's 50 is about the 50s. Best I'm finding.
Yeah,
I'm close. I feel like I need a 4th. I feel like I need a quad fecta. Sam Stevens was awful close. I can't bet Cam Champ. I can't bet EVR here. I'm not going to bet Boccia, Akshay at his current prices. Will Gordon is legitimately just a bad putter. That's not streaky. Like he's just very, very shitty with the putter. Stevens is kind of a guy. Oh, and at that point, I'm looking at like Neesmith or Reeve, and maybe I don't need a 4th. Neesmith is 125 to 1, huh? Because he's Matthews Neesmith, and he's not very good at golf sometimes.
It's true. He does like the Southeast. He does play good golf down there.
All right, Neesmith 125. That's a huge number.
That's a big number. Who played?
He's good. He's a good ball striker. He's good on approach. And that's another one too, where the putting. I'm gonna look, but I don't think the putting is consistently horseshit. It's just always below average. It was really bad at the Rocket. He had 3 straight weeks where he putted gain strokes putting from Byron Nelson to the Schwab. One of those was the PGA Championship. Good for you. I'm not super sure we saw him here last year. He got 2nd at the Shriners and 9th at Sanderson last year. This is his wheelhouse, guys.
This is it.
All right, 125. That's a big number on a guy.
Oh, yeah. Callum Tarram's a guy I like. It's too short.
Yeah, Tarram was priced as well. Left him off.
Yeah, because 7th, Fortnite. Like at least, looking back, like, just like Eric Cole 4th at the Fortnite. Like at least those guys played of late. We've seen them a little bit. I feel better about some of that stuff. Same thing, Gim T17 did okay there. I was gonna say something positive about someone, but then I looking and he faded more. But I was to say. We saw life out of Kevin Kisner for the first time in a while. That faded a little bit, but like 60, bookend 69, 68 at the Fortnite. Real bad round 2, real bad round 3. But it was interesting to see Kevin Kisner was so bad for all season. Again, was on the President's Cup team last year, same time last year, and basically anything I'm running here the last 36 rounds, Kevin Kisner dead last in this field of just misfit toys. So really hard to back Kevin Kisner, but he's like 300 to 1 in some spots. Guy who's actually won golf tournaments in multiple. So you don't find a lot of those guys in this field, but that's not betting Kevin Kisner, but I thought he did better at the Fortnite than he actually
did. If you want a massive number, go bet Russell Knox at like 225, 250. He's gonna
really good. Really good wedge player. Going to find fairways. Yeah.
Russell Knox is going to be. I bet if you hunted around, you can find 300 to 1 on him. Yeah. And it's just like, hey, if the driver finds its way, like he's stellar on approach. Super, super good. The rest of the game is not great, but again, it's not a great field. So
show is fully off the rails.
I bet all my we're talking about making a case for Knox.
Knox
it's gonna be funny when he's like T5 coming into the weekend. We're gonna feel silly. So, all right, I bet Neesmith, Gim, Hubbard, and Hoagie.
I like your card.
Hubbard moved. Oh, I moved the market on that one. I didn't bet very much, guys. But Hubbard went from 80 to 75. Look at that. Neesmith 125, Gim 55, Hubbard 80, Hoagie 70. That is a motley crew of outrights. I'll probably work on some matchups for tomorrow if I get some time. With the NFL season eats up a lot of time, but I do like betting matchups enough that I will make some time for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I went with our boy Smalley at 45, and then a couple of young southpaws. Batia at 60, Higo at 70. Again, Higo number is very much gone in the marketplace. I don't know that I'd feel really good about Higo at 40, but I feel good having 70 in the market move with me. So we'll take that. Way to get those numbers. Got to get in the Discord.
Get in the Discord.
Subscriber-only Discord over at BetSports Golf. We are running a promo right now that's going to get you not just the next couple of months, it's going to get you all of next season, all of our 2024 content. You'll be able to make your own models using our customizable stat database, which is getting a ton of attention this off season. We're going to be putting more stats in there, lots of different upgrades to that. You want all of Ron Kloss, PGA Split 101, all of his content, all of his picks, all the picks from us two bozos here, all the articles, literally everything. You got to get the subscription to BetSports Golf. Swing 50 is a promo code that you can take advantage of right now. Swing season, $50 off. It's going to get you all of the next year. So again, not just, it's usually like $199, $200 for the year. You can get it for $150, but get also these next 3 months as well. So Swing 50 promo code on BetSports Golf. Use that promo code. Lock in everything from now until the end of next season. You're going to want to take advantage of the tools and some of the stuff that we have coming out. Pretty excited about that.
Weird.
Awesome.
Yep, Swing 50, $50 off. You can use that now through the end of the year, wherever you want. It doesn't matter because it's a full year. If you don't want the Fortinet and you don't want the Sanderson and you wait until after them, you're getting them next year. So at some point, but obviously all the majors, all the elevated events, the players, everything good next year, and the custom tools. You can build your own models, and you can pop into the Discord, the members only part of the Discord, bug Ron, Noonan, and myself as much as you want. If you have anything else, if you have any other golf questions for the week, you have a guy you're wondering if we think it's a good price, maybe you have a local, or you have some weird ass European book, maybe from Canada, or, maybe you're from London, Ontario, or London, England, and you have some books we don't, you have some numbers that are way off market. You want to, you want an opinion on them. These are our Twitter handles right at the bottom. If you're listening to this in podcast form, at Andy MSFW, at RY Noonan, at BetSports Golf, just drop us a tweet. We're always happy to give you an opinion one way or the other because we have our numbers and we can usually quickly tell you whether we bet something or not at a kind of an off-market price. Those are all those fun things that we get in the Discord where some people have some goofy numbers here or there.
Yep. Absolutely love it. So thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back. There is Shriners next week. There's golf. So we have golf for the next couple of weeks. We'll be here every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern on our BetSports YouTube channel. Again, find the podcast later in the afternoon as well. So good stuff, Andy. Take us out.
See you guys next